Session Podcast, man. It's your boy Zoe the Session. We live. I'm here with my boy Shane, the Wild Dryad. What's going on, pal?
How you doing, man? Thanks for having me on.
Nah, thanks for coming out, man. Look,
Oh yeah.
a lot of people, if you know, you know. But a lot of people don't know I be fucking with the nature stuff. So I love, seeing what you do. I was always like seeing in the background, man, and how you explain the things you can explain, the way you explain it in pure detail. You know what video really got me?
Mm-hmm.
You explained to me how to recognize, I think, poisonous plants like poison ivy.
Oh yeah.
And I was always, as a kid, like, what if this is poison ivy and we just touching this? Like, I never knew what poison ivy was, and I thought that was so fire. And you were letting us know, like, the difference. You're like, if this thing has purple here, it's not edible. And I'm like, hey, what if I was in the woods one day and I needed food? I know, you know what I'm saying? So how did you, like, kind of, like, get into this whole foraging forest type of love?
I think it was always there. I think at least my family, because we grew up, partly I did spend some time in the city, but I'm originally from, like, the south suburbs.
Yeah.
So I spent some time there growing up. There's a lot of nature. Like, we have a pond, like, that.
The forest preserves in Illinois and the suburbs are pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But we'd always, like, go bike riding with family, or I was put in Boy Scouts when I was younger, which, funny enough, did not add too much to the plant knowledge.
Really? What is really? Is it just telling you how to tie knots and whatnot?
It was a lot of knot tying. It was like some like wood stuff. It was more so like crafts.
How to start a fire.
Yeah, it was kind of, but even not well. I'm surprised that we definitely could have gotten ourselves hurt with some things, like starting fires or how to ID.
Yeah.
And I went to summer camp with, like, around nature and things like that.
Yeah.
So I think there was always a want to be around nature. I still love the sound of running water by waterfalls, or, like, I wanted to get a little desk fountain with the running water. Like, I think there always was a need to be around natural things.
Yeah.
And then I look back now, I was just talking to my sister about this, about a lot of the original paintings. I also would paint and do art when I was younger, and I still do. But if I look back on a lot of the artwork, none of it showed, like, human, like, structures or it was all nature landscapes. So I think there always, either consciously or subconsciously, was a focus on natural things.
Yeah.
But in terms of foraging specifically, I think I started maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Right before the pandemic, I had an interest in it. There was a guy on YouTube, I think Atomic Shrimp. He does, like, foraging in the UK.
Okay, so wait, before we keep going, because I just want my fans and followers, everybody to understand first, what is foraging for people who don't know?
Okay. Foraging is what humans have done for almost all of human time. Going outside and picking and finding edible wild plants or mushrooms that you can eat and bringing it back to kind of your area to prepare.
Yeah.
I think modern foraging is more of kind of finding non-traditional plants, or at least maybe in Western countries.
Yeah.
Finding non-traditional plants that are edible and preparing them and preserving them and bringing them to eat.
Yeah.
It's really fun. I started doing it 2 or 3 years ago. Me personally foraging, and it's been great. Like the berries and nuts and stuff that you can find.
So that brings me to a good point of, like, you said something there that made sense. We've been doing that since the beginning of time, like, obviously. But have you ever thought, this was where I go, like, have you ever thought, like, damn, there were some people who fucking died eating some mushrooms they didn't know anything about back then?
Oh, yeah, all the time. And another...
like, just flat out, just no one knows why they're dead. They just died.
That's still something that we're doing. There's still some things that are labeled in field guides that are inedible, but just not enough people have tried. I don't think anyone really wants to be the guinea pig on.
Oh, so there's still some that people just haven't eaten.
Not even if people have, we don't know the long-term effects of them either. That could affect people. There's also that aspect that goes into it too.
So it's almost low-key, bro. It's low-key like low-key, we share this world with mushrooms. Like, we are not like low-key, because that's kind of scary. If you like, because if we're as humans and we're like, well, we don't know what this can really do to us, and it exists here all over.
Yeah.
and will continue to exist here for a very long time. That's pretty freaking scary to think about.
Yeah, and I think with modern too, with like movies and media and things like that, I think there's a lot of fear around it too. Of because if we think about it, like where we get grocery stores and foods like that, I think a lot of people born now are surrounded by that and think that's where we get our food. We're not really conscious of where we get our food from. So then when we start seeing people growing stuff in the wild, and we're like, oh my gosh, is this poisonous? It's not. It's not in my stores. It's poisonous, and it's
like, dude, that's how that's how food grow. Like that's how it happens. That's how food is made. Yeah, no, that's crazy. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. Like, why do you think people are like that? Just because they're too consumed in like being so easily able to go to the store and buy food that they get like all funny acting about it? Because I ain't gonna lie, I was a kid like that where I used to see people get a pear off a fucking pear tree, and I'm be like, dude, that's nasty. Like, what are you doing? But the whole time it's like it's just a fucking tree.
Yeah, well, I think there's a couple things at play. I think, at least with like historically, like I think modern grocery stores haven't existed until the 20s. So this is like the past. This is like the past 100 years of people being accustomed to just getting everything at their disposal. And on top of that, things that are in the grocery store are only in there because of a handful of reasons. One of the main things being it's easy to ship.
Yeah,
they have long shelf
like
life.
Non-perishables. Like their perishable time is. That makes sense.
There's that aspect of it, and there's also things that are easily able to grow and that can sell easily. So if we look at those things, there's a lot of things that are edible and are eaten widely that just you won't find in the grocery store because you can't make a profit off of it.
When you put it into that perspective, I just feel like we're missing out on like so many different foods.
Oh yeah.
If when you put it into that perspective, because when you go to the grocery store, you see the same stuff. You know exactly where it is, what section, what are they gonna have, blah blah blah. But then it's like, if you put it like that, where it's like some fruits in the wild, like once you pick it, it might rot in 2 days.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You might not be able to package and preserve that. So, and we might not even get it or know it exists because we don't get it in our stores.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's insane. Low key, we limited people. Like, damn.
Yeah. And I think there's also like, truthfully, I don't know where the unsanitary like aspect of it comes from. Like, oh, this is gross out here.
Yeah.
This is nasty to touch.
I really just think that's America. I really don't think anywhere else gives a fuck. Like, if they see a mango or something growing off the tree, and they get like, that's the shit. But I just think America people, like city folk, are just weird like that.
I think it's all over. Like, I think there's people out in like the south suburbs too who are very traditional like that. They're like, I'm only gonna trust what's in the grocery store.
Yeah,
and it's like,
it's weird.
We're missing out on it, and especially if people are paying a lot for stuff that's grown. And half the thing, if we even look at it from this perspective, the stuff that you do find in the grocery store, even though we can grow it in state or locally, we're getting it imported from out of the country and out of state.
It's almost like we lost our primitive way of thinking.
In some ways,
and you know what I'm saying? Like, we're almost so dependent on technology and things that are like, just has to be going through a process of being technically clean and technically packaged, and everything is just got to be so neatly convenient. That's what technology is. I mean, the making of tools for convenience, right? So I think we just lost our like primitive mindset. Like, we're just lost. Like, just Jesus. So now let's just go back into you foraging, right? So you said you got started into it from a guy on YouTube. Okay. And you were just, what are you doing? Watching him, and then what?
Yeah, I was watching him, and I noticed he would have this challenge that he would post, like living off £1 a day, which thinking like living off of $1 a day here, the challenge probably wouldn't be able to be done.
Yeah, nah, bro, I wouldn't. You'd die.
But he would like get some stuff from the. He would get some stuff from the grocery store, and that you could get for £1, and then the rest of it he would forage, like his seasonings and some of his. He would go mushroom and fruit forage, and I'm like, wait, you can just go out and pick stuff that's good without even having to worry about what it is. Just edible things you can go out. That's really cool.
Imagine if the homeless community, or like people who just did not be able to get food, understood foraging.
I do have some opinions about that. I'm going to continue this story, but I have a lot of opinions on that.
Let's go in and tell me that story, and then we're going to talk about that.
So he was do that for £1 a day. I'm like, that's really cool. So I started learning about just how to identify plants in my yard about 3 or 4 years ago, just learning what's around me. did that, and I also illustrate. So I would like draw pictures of just stuff, learn what they do, how do they affect the environment, can you eat them? And then the first things I tried was sumac. It's called staghorn sumac. It's got these red cones. It makes like this pink lemonade, or they also use it in hummus in some different cultures. I tried that, made a lemonade out of that. It was really good. I tried June berries for the first time, learned how I ID them and try them. I'm like, okay, I haven't died yet.
Right. No, yeah, right.
Yeah, I've been doing good now, but what is something I can do to start like better expanding? So I went on some nature walks with some other foragers around the Chicagoland area, learned different things from them, and through that, they saw my illustration work.
Yeah.
And I've been collaborating more with other foragers who like are doing things in that field, and I've made connections that way just by illustrating and taking notes on what I do.
You know, it's almost odd though. You know how you're like, you know, you tried the June berries or whatever, and you're like, I haven't died yet. But look, it's so crazy, G, that we can say that about some berries.
Yeah.
And we're like, I haven't died yet, so we should be good. But we could go eat some fries or like something out of a bag, and it got all type of like acids and shit added to it, and we don't think twice. We just like, this shit good. Like that make, you know, but like real life, that don't make sense. That don't make no lick of sense.
No.
Why were you thinking like that? That's weird. But go ahead. That's weird though. Like we gotta stop like that.
So I'd say that at this point I am like 80 to 90% self-taught. Most of what I learn is just by me getting field guides, learning different things, taking notes, illustrating, taking my own observations, and then reading research papers, renting or buying 3 books at a time, and reading the different backgrounds from them and comparing and contrasting information. Because one, you got different sources are going to have different like viewpoints on stuff, and then some of the information is wrong. I've read some stuff that just has blatantly wrong information. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Or if it's outdated and it's still being used, it's a little frustrating in that way to make sure you're getting the right information.
Oh yeah, big business don't always want you to know the right information. Though. You know, it's bad for business sometimes when you know the right stuff.
Yeah,
I
I think at this point I initially started for foraging for me and my family to try new things.
Yeah,
and now it's moved. I feel like I've moved into this education position to teach people about not only just about what's edible and what's not, but poisonous plants and some medicinal. I don't really cover that too much, but more so just plant ID and getting more connected with nature to people who don't have access or feel like this is something that is like for a scientist to do or something that's above them when it's not. This is just something that we all used to do and have this knowledge.
Yeah.
And it's something that people can get.
Yeah, that's like like I think about how you're foraging. Like I've always taken an interest into astronomy because I just feel like as people, it's certain skills and stuff that we were doing before that we've lost. Whether you believe in whatever they tell you in history or not, we don't know what goes on in the sky. And beforehand, people did. And we kind of just leave it to NASA, and we kind of leave our food to farmers and the grocery stores. But we as all of civilization don't even really know, you know?
I think it's an overall feeling, people feeling like they don't need to learn those things because, it's already researched. There's already stuff out
Someone
there.
already figured that out.
And it's like, no, well, what if these people, I'm not saying in a large.
What if they all died? What if they all died right now? What if all the scientists, everyone just died? What the fuck are we going to do? Yeah, think about it that way, guys, you pieces.
Not even in that, which it could. Not even in that sense, but like for people who just, what if they're wrong?
Yeah.
Like, I think historically there's been times where the most, like, people who have been viewed as the most top of their league of knowing things, they've been proven wrong in other studies.
Yeah. Or someone comes out with a better study or better, and it kind of trumps them. Like, there's been a lot of, like, Einstein theories that have been like, hey, yeah, we trumped that, you know.
There's that aspect of it. We've become complacent with not wanting to question things. And I'm not saying people need to question everything, and that's a rabbit hole to go down, but coming with emphasis and rationalizing yourself.
Do you see how we rationalize our imaginary thinking to call it rabbit holing? You give me like you just because like in a not to like say you're contradictory, but in a contradictory sense, this is how we think. We will literally say like, oh, we got to a point of stop questioning things, and then it's like, well, you shouldn't question everything because you'll go into a rabbit hole. And it's like, nah, but that's the point of it.
Mhm.
We should be exercising these rabbit holes more than you think, because what if we go to find out everything we thought was just something completely different?
So, okay, let me add to that then. You should question things, but it should be with the rational research.
Yes.
And
Yes, of
I
course.
feel like there's
not
people
just
who,
nonsense.
Yeah, like, oh,
100%.
I'm questioning this. Well, where are you getting that from?
So there was a point we brought up earlier that I wanted to bring back up, and it was about homelessness and foraging and how that could possibly go hand in hand.
I think there's a missed perspective on that. Because when we think about, if there's so much of this available food for people to go out and forage for, then why don't people who are homeless get it? I think there's a couple things. One, some stuff is, at least in Chicagoland area, there's stuff you can find most seasons, like onions or garlic or lamb's quarters, like wild spinach, things that you can just eat out of hand, or some berries and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can technically go forage those year round. But then you also have that thing of they don't have the space to process it. A lot of the stuff that is edible takes a lot of processing. And if you don't have a kitchen or a place to boil things down, or some things need to be boiled in multiple changes of water in order to eat, you won't be able to even eat and gather those things. Yes, they're edible, but are you going to be able to process them and gather enough of it to survive?
But there is enough of the ones that you probably could just pick and eat. No?
Yeah, but then what about the winter time too?
Right,
There's
right.
still some stuff you can get in the winter time, but
Yeah.
are you gonna be out there? It takes a while to gather this
Are
stuff.
mushrooms
too.
not resilient to the winter either?
Some aren't.
No?
Some mushrooms are seasonal too, just
Okay.
like plants.
Oh, okay.
But then there's also, I believe there's a handful of winter mushrooms
Yeah.
that happen on the front end of winter, and towards the end, there's some jelly fungus that looks like,
Mm-hmm.
or trembling fungus, like a white cluster
Mm.
that's in the winter time, or they
Okay.
have I think there's a winter oyster. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That's edible. But there's things like that you won't be able to gather enough of it. If you think about it, that's why we do so much preserving in the spring, and throughout the seasons. We gather things when they're in season to serve and preserve throughout the winter time.
Facts. Yeah. We figured that out on the grand scale.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't think it would be? I mean, it could be a little beneficial, but you think it would be a lot more road bumps than they think.
Yes.
Yeah.
For the individual person, I don't think it's viable. But if we were to look at it on a structure, like a community growing their own stuff and gathering things like that, there definitely could be ways we can implement things like that to have more access to food. It's kind of backwards the way that we implement large quantities of produce from out of state when we could be having it here.
Yeah. Why don't we grow our own foods in our backyards? What is bro, low key, a lot of foods, you could just put the seeds out there and let nature do its thing.
I think it takes a lot of time. And also, I think for people who used to grow their food, I think if we look some historical context to it, you have people who lived that way, and it was seen as a poverty thing. There's classism goes involved in that. I don't want to sit back and have to grow my own food, especially if you look at America's.
Well, I'd love to have my food catered. I'd love to have my food catered.
Yeah, I want it served to me. I don't want to have to go out and get it. I think one of the most baffling examples of that, if you look at some of the ornamental plants around Chicagoland area, they'll openly plant kale and lettuce and broccoli in the pots,
Mm-hmm.
and it's what are we doing?
Yeah. It's fucking kale.
It's unreal that stuff like that has grown, but I think it's a classist thing.
Yeah.
If we look at poor people in the South and the Americas who wanted to move north, it's a lot to grow your own thing, and it was a poverty thing. They want to get away from that.
Yeah.
It's the
I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does make sense. But it's also then don't complain about groceries. Your grocery bill, that's kind of stupid. You could just grow your own food. It takes a little work, a little water. The earth provides it,
Some people don't have the space either. If
Yeah,
we're
of course.
high
Yeah,
rises,
of course. If you got a high rise, obviously you
Mhm.
can't,
But suburbs are not really designed to have spaces like that. There's
Yeah.
not if you look at a subdivision, there'll just be nothing but houses or condos, and there's no gathering place to have commerce or to sell produce and things like that. You have to drive far out of the area to get your food instead of growing it in your lawns or growing it in areas and things like that.
So there's a whole little network called the Mycelium network,
Mm-hmm.
and apparently there's been studies done where that's some of the it's a really smart network. Have you seen some studies that Japan has done on these? I think it was Japan or China, one of them. But they did some studies about the Mycelium network, and it remapped itself or some shit, like some crazy shit it's doing.
I remember hearing about that. I haven't looked at the paper myself. I want to put out there too. I myself not a
Yeah.
mycologist.
Yeah.
Just I don't study mushrooms like particularly like the mycelium and the inner working parts of micro. More so just like the big larger fruiting bodies of mushroom that are easy to identify. But if we think about it, like mycelium is the main structure of mushrooms. Think of it like the tree and then like the mushrooms being the apple. So this is the main part of the living organism that connects. It's in all soil. Wherever there's soil, there's going to be some kind of mycelium if it's healthy. You're going to see that. And I do think there's a lot of unknown things that could benefit us from doing more research on mycelium structures. Like
there was a fun theory, and you don't have to be a mycologist to like theorize what you think about these shits. You know, like this is just a lot of us don't even be outside and don't even know half the shit you're talking about. So it's okay, like trust me, you know. But there's a fun theory that evolution pretty much started from humans eating or like primitive style humans eating mushrooms and taking like psychedelic mushrooms. Have you heard anything about that?
I've seen it on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah, well, I saw a clip of it, and it made a lot of sense. And but that kind of does make sense. Like, mushroom trips are like sometimes can be some crazy thing.
I think there is, and it's interesting seeing like research being done to have that be done more in like therapy settings and like low dosages of it and things like that. I also see like some medicinal aspects of mushrooms too. Some of the modern medicine that we get does come from mushrooms too.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't think of one off the top of my head.
No, but that makes sense. I mean, most medicine come from plants usually.
Yeah. I think that's left out of the conversation too.
Yeah.
But there a lot of things are used medicinally in that way too. So it would make sense to me that there's some cognitive medicine out there too. I just wish that there was less of a phobia and stigma about it. I do think definitely people characterize like mushrooms as being like a stigma towards certain demographics of people instead of being open-minded to possible research that could be done with these.
We get so weird over things that just grow naturally. That's so weird. Why do we? That's so weird. You know what I mean? Like weed, mushrooms, anything. Like people get weird with that.
And I think we should be seeing them as a tool. Like a hammer, you can kill somebody, but you can also hammer a nail.
Yeah, exactly.
It should be looked at exactly strictly as a tool.
Yeah.
Yes, you can do things with it, of course.
You can always over abuse, of course.
Yeah, but like let's look at the positive aspects of it too. Of like what things are we limiting ourselves to learn because we view it a certain way.
Yeah. So like, do psychedelic mushrooms just grow in the wild?
There are some, yes.
Really?
I
didn't know if we like made, we be out here GMO and shit. I didn't know if we made I'm gonna be real. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't know if the psychedelic ones you just find like, oh shit, look at this. And go crazy.
So I personally am putting this. I'm not encouraging anyone to go out and.
Of course not.
But
it is what it is.
Yeah, but there's also you have. I mean, some plants are too.
Really?
We have but to answer your question first about the mushrooms, we have that I'm aware of. I think one or two, maybe more than that grow in Illinois, and they actually grow on cow shit.
I'm sorry.
Or cow dung. I forgot what it's called. It's some kind of it's a hallucinogenic that grows out of cow. It only grows in cow pastures, and it has some kind of symbiotic relationship with cow and horse poop.
Wow.
Which is interesting. To be the person to find that out.
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine.
Which one of y'all went and grabbed some mushrooms off some cow shit? That shit nasty. But good discovery.
But then you also have, like, I think most of the psychedelics that do, or the psilocybin stuff in that genus that grows in the U.S., it's weirdly grows in California and down south. I don't know the relation to that personally, but you will find more variety of species the more west and south you go in the U.S.
Really?
I think it may have to do with the humidity and the water
and the warmth
and
whatnot.
it having to do with the weather, but I may be
it's pretty
wrong
fucking
on
cold around in these parks.
Yeah, we have a small growing season, and then that's it.
Yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Then I mean, so then obviously, just like plants, weather plays a huge factor probably in the development of certain species, just like a fucking pine tree might do really good here, but we won't do good with palm trees.
Yeah.
Those will die, real quick. So that's interesting though that that they can just grow in the wild.
Yeah.
But maybe that's why you don't just you got to identify first.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it is a poison. Like psychedelics, you are essentially poisoning yourself.
Okay.
Like it is that effect is by definition a poison.
By definition.
Well, poisoning doesn't mean like it'll kill you or that it's harmful to you, but it just gives you a reaction. An example of that would be what would be a good example of that? Like chicken of the woods or sulfur shelf is an edible choice mushroom. People have seen it. It's bright orange. Great edible choice mushroom. But if you wait till it's too mature, it give you gastrointestinal issues. So you'll poison yourself. You'll start purging, and some people have adverse reactions to it. So, and some people's bodies may not be able to tolerate certain species of mushroom. So let's say like Mycelium, which is like hen of the woods, a great edible choice mushroom for people. Some people may not be able to tolerate it. Some people may throw up and have purgative effects.
Yeah.
So there's that aspect of it too.
So, but what if that's like the mushroom just clearing your body of stuff that wasn't supposed to be there? Like, let's be real now. You know what I'm saying? Because what is a mushroom? A decomposer, right? They break things down, right? And then turn it into what? Organic matter, I'm sure, for the earth.
It's breaking things down.
You know, what if it does the same for your body? It's just breaking all the bad down, Something to think about. So I've seen some mushrooms that actually like look like meat.
Oh yeah, there's quite a few.
Does it taste like meat?
Chicken of the woods. So there's two varieties of it. There's a sulfur. I'm not gonna say I don't know the botanical Latin off the top of my head, but there's a white variety and a yellow variety.
Okay.
To me, we've been able to try both this year, and the white variety to us tastes almost exactly like chicken.
Really?
It's pretty tripped out. It's got the same texture, and it honestly, if people haven't been able to cultivate this mushroom, but if someone is or when that happens, it probably would break the vegan industry.
Why haven't they been able to cultivate it?
They haven't been able to get it to fruit. It fruits very. They don't really understand how it fruits at this point yet. So they're able to take spores of it and grow mycelium or cultures of it in a petri dish or in substrates, but they can't get it to fruit.
To like pop up.
Yes. It's like being able to grow a tree but having it be sterile. They can't get the fruiting bodies to produce.
So it only does like, oh, that's sick.
There's also research going into it of whether we're starting to, or if it's always been like a symbiotic.
Wait, somebody working hard as shit trying to get that chicken shit to go.
Honestly,
I ain't gonna lie.
It's probably $1 billion idea.
Literally.
To be able to, if you are the leading person to do that,
that's
you
crazy.
probably would be.
Yeah, we need to get on that, boys. Get on that. Yeah, go ahead though.
So you've only been able to get sterile versions of it, not been able to getting it to fruit. So there's things like that of being able to watch how we're able to grow things to cultivate it. That also goes into like cultivating or foraging things for profit. I don't necessarily agree with. I think that's the reason how we got here, part of it. But I don't know. I think different people have different opinions on that. That's just how I feel about it. I don't know about.
No, yeah, I feel you. Yeah,
Yeah.
So, I think that's anything though. It's always just how someone feels about it. Like, you know what I mean? It literally, I mean, you can make obviously some things are just hard boiled fact.
Yeah.
Fucking water boils at 212 degrees, just fact. But then there's also some people things that just it is what it is. Especially when you're moving in something like that, like the unknown. We don't even know how to fruit a mushroom, but we know it tastes like chicken. And it's like, it's crazy. So
it's really cool.
Yeah, it's actually really cool. So it's almost like I don't know, like the mushrooms obviously come in so many different forms and sizes and things like that. But you're also into like identifying different trees and different plants and stuff like that too.
I'd say plants is my main focus.
Yeah.
Trees and any like angiosperms or flowering plants. I'm trying to move more into evergreens. I don't really know too much good idea on that. I'm still practicing it, but my main focus is plants. That's what got me into it.
Yeah, and so you said something earlier. That was a very helpful tip. for people to identify trees.
Mm-hmm.
And you said that was to look at the ground.
Yes. I think the biggest tip I like to give for people learning trees is to don't look up at the trees to see what, you can barely see the leaves or the bark. Look down.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, you're going to see what fruit fell from the tree in previous years, and you'll be able to ID it. I gave with oaks, anything that has an acorn is going to be some kind of oak across the board.
Mm-hmm.
Ever see like I tell like I have younger people that I'll teach, and I give the example of Ice Age.
Yeah.
The squirrel, the acorn.
Yeah.
Anything that has that is gonna be some kind of oak tree.
Yeah. No, that because when you say acorn, I ain't gonna lie, I thought about the Ice Age, dude.
Oh yeah.
Like that's the only way. Every time somebody say acorn, I think about folks dropping that weak ass acorn. I ain't gonna lie. But no, that's interesting. So your best advice is like if you want to learn a tree, look down.
Yeah. Start from the ground, and then you'll probably notice more things when you look down anyway.
Yeah. And we were talking earlier, because we got to get out to see the massive trees of the earth, like our redwood trees.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. These trees go to what, maybe 100 something feet tall?
I believe more than that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, bro. I've seen pictures of the redwood forest, but are they, so is that like do you know if that's like a national park at all?
Yeah, they do have national parks for it. Whether all of them are within national parks, I'm not sure. I'd imagine they would.
Mm.
Honestly, America is or North America in general, has one of the most open land areas in the world. One of them. Because of how much natural habitat we keep preserved.
Oh, very good.
There's a large tourist industry for people to go out and see these forests and these nature areas in the States too. So a lot of that is protected, and sometimes at a federal level, sometimes at a state level.
I just saw there was for New York, in Times Square or wherever, their Christmas tree. Dude, it was like an 85-year-old like evergreen tree from like Rochester, New York. It's massive.
Wow.
And it's so heartbreaking that we will just cut down a tree like that just because. Now, I don't know, like I'm pretty sure I would hope that New York did some type of like environmental like check on this tree to make like, all right, it's probably on its way out anyway, or that it maybe had signs of like near death. So it's like, let's just go ahead and use this one. It's old as hell anyway. But to cut down an 85-year-old tree for a Christmas theme it's sick.
Oh yeah, it's part of the reason my family, we used to get live trees every year, and then like a couple of years ago we just stopped doing it. We're like, why are we?
And you know what?
Why do we need? We can just light a pine candle.
This tree was the first tree, or this year I actually thought about getting a tree, a real one. I was like, maybe we can, because I have a young daughter, so I'm always thinking about how to start a new tradition while we're still young, and so we can keep it going. And I'm like, maybe we should do a day where we all go to the place, pick out our tree, and then bring it back. But then I was like, no, we're kind of just cutting down trees. But then I'm also like, but we also cultivated those trees just to be cut down.
Yeah.
So you feel me?
It's
I'm
one
like,
of those things where it's like you don't know what
you feel me?
consciously to do. And
yeah. So I'm just like, nah. I went on Wayfair and bought a tree. I just bought a tree.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, Like,
yeah. So, but that's sick, man. I wish we did more preserving of trees. I'm glad to be like here south in Illinois because we have such a great nature landscape here.
Oh yeah.
Like our forest preserves are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I really like our trees and everything that we got here. You can see it all on the sides of the highways and whatnot. Another place with a great landscape is like Boston.
I've never been.
Dude, it's almost like if you go right outside of Boston and just drive through Massachusetts, like the landscape is incredible.
Oh wow.
Yeah, just super dense, thick forests. Like the type of forest where it's thick, like so black at night that you just can't see anything.
Yeah.
Like it's like they're thick forests. I don't know about their like wildlife animals or anything, but I know riding through there and seeing all those trees, it made me realize why we landed there. America. Yeah, buddy. What's the most fun part about getting out and doing your nature walks?
I love teaching, honestly.
Yeah.
I find it fun. I think it's a great service to do.
Mm.
I feel like I'm giving back always, and I'm always learning stuff. I always feel like a student. I'm a teacher, but I always feel like a student.
Right.
I'm always learning. I'm always teaching stuff. But honestly, there's always new stuff to learn. I just enjoy being outside.
Mm.
It's meditative for me. I like just going outside. I feel it's.
How'd you come up with the idea to do these nature walks?
I had another forager who was that I met when I was still learning this who does them, and I was like, wait, there's a way that I could do this just to do it,
Yeah.
and it seemed amazing. So I started going on some of his nature walks, and then now I've started branching out and doing my own this season. Hopefully to do more next season. I did my first out of state one in Atlanta this past weekend.
How was that?
Oh, it was amazing. Had 14 people sign up. Had like about half show up and come through. It was great.
That's
We
good.
did a little walk. We found the giant big leaf magnolias. Now those have the largest leaves in North America of any
Really?
deciduous tree. They can be between 25 and 45 inches long.
Christ.
Huge. One of the biggest, like
That's like 3 feet.
they're massive.
That's a big ass.
They're
leaf.
massive, yeah.
Okay.
And just to think about the flowers grow in the middle of like 5 of those. The flowers are like the size of a head.
Now, do you not do it in the wintertime because it's just like nothing to do in the winter?
There's always stuff to find.
Mm.
Like there's wintertime ID. They have books just on wintertime ID for like identifying trees. Anything that's underground, like tubers, like onions or garlic, you can still technically find in the wintertime if you know the area in the before season. It's just harder to dig.
Onions definitely grow native in Illinois, right?
Oh yeah, that's what they call it.
Stinky onion.
Yeah, there's some name. I don't want to.
Chicago, Chicago or
grass
something. Yeah, whatever.
or something like that.
Yeah, they used to refer to Chicago as stinking onion, the natives.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You can find multiple different species of alliums that smell like onion and garlic all throughout.
Really?
Oh yeah, there's a popular one, ramps.
What type of raw onion is there?
What do you mean?
So there's no onions that actually grow here. They're just plants that smell like onions.
Oh no, they're all in the same family. So the allium family is the onion and garlic family. I just use that broadly.
Can you use? I don't. Thank you for clarifying.
Oh, sorry.
No, you good. You good. I wouldn't fucking. I'm shit. Can you use any of those for like food and stuff?
Yeah, anything in the onion family, the allium family, is edible across the board. If anything, and also the same thing, anything that smells like an onion or garlic is edible.
Damn.
Now there are some things that look like onions or garlic that won't smell like it, but that if you didn't know any better, you may confuse. There's actually one that's deadly poisonous that looks like an onion but doesn't smell like it. So I try to incorporate all the senses when I'm showing people things.
I was just gonna say that you gotta definitely probably incorporate all your senses because if it looked like an onion, but it didn't smell like an onion, you might die.
And then there's
that's sick, bro.
Very
Jesus Christ.
There's also that's why like some people may not be able to see or some people may not have their hands. Like I try to incorporate all the senses that you still can learn this. There's different techniques that you can use.
Yeah,
too.
That's interesting. I want to sign up for one of those walks, man.
Oh yeah, we're doing a lot of stuff is happening behind the scenes for next season. Next season is gonna be crazy.
Yeah,
I'm excited for it.
Yeah,
there's so many new places I'm going to.
Different cities and whatnot.
Yeah.
Are you gonna put together a tour? Are you about to tour?
I can't say anything about it.
He's about to. Oh, come on. Let me get a little scoop.
But I'm looking. I can't say where, but I am looking to do a tour next
He's
year.
gonna do a tour. That'll be fire.
Oh yeah.
The nature walk tour.
I'm excited about it. We'll go hit up a few different cities.
So right now, are you just preparing your knowledge and whatnot?
Yeah, the wintertime is a great time, and I say this for not just myself, but for other nature. This is the time to do your book research.
Yeah.
You could take the time, learn about what things weren't you able to know this year. What are some things you can use for plants? So you use your in-person ID during the growing season, and then now is the time to do the book research.
Mm-hmm.
There's also another project I'm working on in the off season too that I'm excited about that I can't say anything on, but I am looking forward to.
See, this is why I hate interviewing the stars. They can't get anything out of them. They can't get shit. It's just like you can't really talk about this. I get it. But you also do some cool shit. Like I was watching it on one of your lives, and you were going over those walking sticks you made.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, talk to me a little bit about that, buddy.
So So I did carpentry. That is the trade that I went to. I did furniture making. Still learning. I still am doing that, but I learned furniture joinery.
Yeah.
So now basically taught myself using those techniques to do wood carving. And I made myself one hiking stick for the season. I'm like, man, I want a hiking stick.
Yeah.
You know, I saw like a few different ideas of them out there. I'm like, I want a cool mushroom hiking stick for this.
Yeah.
Made myself one. Made my own stain out of walnuts.
Mm.
I want to plan on doing a video about that.
You can't give up the sauce. You can't give up the sauce. You can't give up the sauce. You made your own stain out of walnuts, buddy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, unless other people know how to do it, don't give it up.
It's some people know how to do it.
Yeah,
But
well,
the way
they don't know how you do it, though. Don't give up the sauce. You might want to just skip that step and just be like, yeah, here's the stain I made out of walnut.
But it's to show off like everything I talk about on my tours. I want to have done at least one time.
Of course.
So like that's why I learned to do the stain, and I stained the stick, and I'm like, wow, this is something that was fun. And then I started making more, and I went on a couple of tours, and people were like, wow, I really want to. Are you selling those? And I was like, no. so now I started doing that. Honestly, if I can move into a space where I can do carpentry during the winter time and do foraging tours, or plant nature walks during the summer and growing season, that would be ideal.
That sounds like a plan.
I think I'd be content.
That sounds like a pretty good plan.
Yeah.
With the winter arc, lock in.
But the carving it's honestly probably one of the bigger projects I've done that I've spent so much time doing. It's been exhausting.
Yeah.
But I'm almost done. I'm looking to hopefully get a lot of that done this month.
People love handmade stuff, though, man. Like handcrafted goods. You know, that's good. That's amazing work. You know what I mean? I say you just work at it, because you go good with that. You know what I mean? That's some pretty good stuff there. You know? But other than that, man, it sounds like you've been someone who's able to take their surroundings and literally learn from it and then turn it into a career. And that's pretty good, man.
Well, hopefully. I mean, every day I'm thankful and amazed by it.
Yeah.
Because really, the growth happened very quickly.
Yeah.
I think I started my channel in. I've always been posting, like, I used to do acting or did stuff for improv and stuff. I've been posting for a little bit, but it really took off this May, and it's been exponential. And it's been equally thankful for it as it's been terrifying, the growth.
It's a double-edged sword.
There's a lot of things I need to do.
A lot of people are watching you now.
There is some level of like, okay, I need to watch what I'm doing. More. There's a maturity to it.
Yeah, of course, because you're carrying a weight, and then you like you say, you might be an inspiration to young kids. They want to see and hear you talking about different things. It's like or you might be. Like with me, like you were someone I saw, and like you got me hella interested in like mushrooms. I swear that's how I got I knew about what goes on, kind of because I already like plants. But when I saw him like identifying different mushrooms and identifying different plants, I started thinking like, damn, it's a lot about nature I didn't know. And we walk past certain stuff every day, and I wouldn't even know what it is. And I've been here 27 years.
Well, when I was coming in too, there's some stuff outside that you can eat right in your yard if you wanna. I can show you all some stuff.
Hell yeah, I want you to show me some stuff. Can I get we do this after this, yes, but I definitely, can I get an exclusive identification?
Yeah, we can show you all some stuff that's around. There's still stuff that's growing this time of year. It's like around November. You can still find stuff holding on.
That's fire. We got this little like woodland creaky area over here. It's a bunch of shit, and I don't know whatever. Like I never know. Damn, that's awesome. But that's such a skill. Like, bro, if shit hit the fan, he's on my team. you like dead ass, bro. You're on my team. That's a gift, man. Have you ever identified anything that was like, or had anything that did make you feel sick, or like eaten anything?
So I think I have misidentified stuff before.
Okay.
I think that no matter how long you've been doing this, you're going to misidentify.
Yeah.
Like but I've never tried anything that I wasn't 100% sure of.
Right.
So in that sense, I've never tried anything or accidentally poisoned myself or anything. I've accidentally made myself sick from overeating something that was edible. Like the June berries, they taste like a mix of like apple and raspberry and blueberries. They're really good. and I just picked like bags full of it, and I was like, okay, I that's enough. I had too much.
So you were saying that you were just saying like on the way in here you noticed some things that we could just eat right now.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like kind of how your everyday life is now? Like every time you walk by, you're like, that's that. That's that.
Yeah.
I could totally eat that right now. Like if
It never goes
and
away.
no one else knows. You just feel like you're like I'm the only one that knows you can eat this.
Well, it doesn't come from that perspective of like I'm the only one that knows, but like my eyes are open to seeing it now.
Yeah.
It's like seeing stuff in groups. I always like, oh, well, this is this. It's like
Yeah.
It's like having on like
Well, you notice how nature's full blown coexisting with each other.
yes.
That's like I think that recognition to nature and the universe within itself is why you're having so much success, my guy. We're all on the network, whether you want to believe it or not. And I think that's a different type of understanding. That's almost spiritual in a way.
I'd say so. Yeah, I do think there is an element of that. And honestly, I feel like learning this was for me in that sense of having I think I was very depressed before I started doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I was very looking at online of how things were going. Like, oh, the world's like this, and oh, this is so off. Like all of these things are like, oh, we're not. What's the point of doing anything? And it was all that like nihilistic stuff. And I think taking the time to be outside and pay attention to the smaller things has made me like more thankful.
Yeah,
and more present too with like learning this stuff too. I think it was for me to get healed, like happier.
Well, they talk about the divine creator all the time, and he puts things in nature that makes things easy for us. Like you said earlier, the sound of running water. We buy things to mimic a river or a creek or whatever, but he put it already here for us. He knew it would be peaceful for us. And just like these fruits, vegetables, plants, he put it all in primary colors. He made it easy for us to identify. We just don't want to identify. We don't take the time. But he made it easy for us to identify. And that's the beauty of nature, guys, is that, everything that you need is in nature. Whether it's for, sadness or it's to eat. It's all outside. Like, so if you can't find the answer to your problem, maybe go take a walk. Go take a walk, pal. Seriously, because that's a good thing that you were able to overcome something from learning and being outside in nature. Is this something that you try to share? Do you like share this with your family at home now that you like learned a bunch of things? Do you try to tell everybody? Are you like trying to put everyone on?
I think it happens inevitably. I think when I bring stuff and I'm trying stuff, when I remember, and also something I want to say before, like I don't want to say that I just by learning this that I still have issues with depression. You know what I mean? Like that stuff.
I mean, everybody does for real,
waves.
bro. Like this is
Yeah, it comes in waves.
Honestly, I think it's just like low key manhood.
Yeah,
it's hard, brother. God damn, I ain't gonna lie, it's hard to the motherfucker.
But I would say that I am generally happier.
Yeah.
But I remember when I first started foraging, and I brought some stuff back to my family. It definitely was like.
Yeah.
What
the hell
that?
is this?
What are you bringing?
Yeah.
Like the sumac cones, they're bright and red, and my mom and my family used to think they were box elder trees, which we know now that they're not. But you're like, oh, they got those bugs in there. I don't want to. It was all these things about it, and then we found out, oh, this has a high vitamin C content. Oh, it tastes like lemonade when you brew it with water. Like all these things, it's like, wow, there's things that we can do with it. I think my family got more comfortable with it as they could see the things that was being made out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my sister always had an interest of like wanting to grow food and do permaculture and things like that. So I definitely thank her for some of the interest that I've gotten into this too.
Now, this is like kind of a left, but I just know you're the guy to ask for this.
Oh yeah.
But dandelions, isn't there some type of like medicinal or something you can use dandelions for?
All parts of it.
That's what I'm saying. I've heard this somewhere. Maybe just through the years of like, we in Illinois is dandelion everywhere. Yeah. But we go to the extent of killing the shit out of them. But we can actually use them. What can we use them for?
So many different things. It's in the daisy family, or Asteraceae. That's the family. Mm-hmm. So it's things like sunflowers, daisies, brown-eyed Susan. A lot of the native wildflowers are all in the daisy family, and anything in that family is safe to eat, or at least not poisonous. So if you were to eat it, it wouldn't.
It's just edible.
Yeah. Well, A lot of I like to say a lot of things are edible, but they doesn't mean they're gonna taste
Doesn't mean
very
it should
good.
be eaten.
Yeah, some things will be extremely bitter. Some things will be like
well, some
leathery.
things that don't have great taste do have great benefits.
Oh yeah. That I don't want to take away from that either. So
Yeah.
the roots, the leaves, the stems, and the flower tops of dandelion are all edible in some way. They just have different uses. Have you probably seen dandelion tea?
Yeah,
It's probably
I've seen that.
usually made out of the flower tops, the yellow flower tops or the roots. You can eat the greens of them when they're young in the early spring or when they're coming up again in the early fall when it starts getting a lot of rain. You can eat the green things and the green leaves of them and use them in salads.
Maybe that's why my kid would do that. Like when she started walking outside, she'd pick the dandelions and she'd eat the leaves. I swear to you. She'd like put it right in. We'd be like, you go to be like, no.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that.
Which they're safe to eat, yeah. And actually they're pretty good when they're young. When they start getting older, they're a little bitter. But just like us.
Yeah. Wait. Nah, for real, we do get like that the older we get. That's crazy.
I'm hoping not to though. Like my page, I hope is to help make us be less bitter.
Yeah.
As we get older.
Now, the one thing that I wish I could do, or that someone like you does, is find that one plant that's gonna like prolong our life, buddy. It's out there somewhere. Maybe we just don't know how to use this plant for its benefit. Like it could be a snake plant. And we don't even know that, like, you got to boil it and then cool it and then drink it, or like some weird shit, like, but I wish somebody could, because I know it's out there. There's some plants with powerful medicine.
Yeah.
And I know that there's jungles that haven't even been discovered for real, like in terms of like all the plants and stuff that are there. Like that will take.
And I think part of that too is just getting to a point where, because plant medicine does work. It does.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people in the science community, or specifically like the medical industry, who don't take credit for it. They don't look at it in that way, which is like, it's backwards. Where does our plant medicine come from?
Yeah.
I've gotten a lot of questions where people are like, well, do you still believe in like traditional medicine? It's like, or like modern medicine. It's like, where do you think modern medicine comes from?
Yeah.
It works. But then I can't deny, though, there's some people who do practice plant medicine, but also haven't done enough research, and they can hurt themselves too.
I understand.
It goes both ways.
I understand that, because it's also like how people who do, okay, so like in the workout community, there's like arguments about plant-based protein.
Yeah.
Versus like whey proteins, or protein being extracted, or whatever it may be, or getting protein, and then on the other side getting protein from just like meats.
Yeah.
But vegans can get proteins because meats get proteins from plants. Like cows graze, other things like that. There's some other animals that obviously eat other animals, but we're not really eating those animals. We, for the most part, eat animals that don't really eat other animals. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? So, you can be like vegetarian and still get a full pallet of protein. You might need to eat a lot of greens, though, to get the protein you might need. But it's probably not the most efficient diet, I guess I'd say.
Well, I also think, looking at it this way, like we cannot deny that culture and background doesn't play a part into it either. Like if your family or like where you're from has been eating a certain way for centuries and eating a certain way, maybe there is some correlation between the foods you eat and what things you can and can't tolerate. Yeah. Like everyone's bodies is different.
Everyone's body's different.
Plants. Yeah. So I sometimes get frustrated with the perspective of you need to work out or eat something this way. And it's like, no, there's different, whatever works for you and it's healthy for you. And it's not, as long as you're not harming yourself, why not try it that way?
Yeah. So then, like, have you ever seen like an eagle here in Illinois?
Yeah, we have different species of eagles.
Okay, because I thought I was tripping one day. Because, like, no, I just wanted to ask you, because you're always outside. I know the difference between, like, little hawks and different things like that. But I saw one day, I thought it was a plane. And then it turned out to be a very large bird, but I could see the white head.
Oh, you asked if it was, like, bald eagles?
Yeah, I saw.
I'm not sure.
I'm almost 100% certain.
Maybe
I've seen a bald, but I was like south, closer towards, like, Indiana.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just like, I was like, no way. I Googled it, and they were like, eagles sometimes stop through, like, the Midwest on wherever they're going.
Yeah.
and that they've been seen here in Chicago before.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know like they like I thought that was just like insane, But it also it just I said all of that to say and ask you all that because does it ever make you realize that we are like we literally live in the middle of this shit? Like, you get what I'm saying? Like it almost just feels like we just live in the middle of everything that's going on around us. Like nature is just doing its thing. And we live in the middle of it.
Yeah.
But I think people think it's the other way around most of the time. Like, we exist and then we have trees that live around us when it's totally backwards.
Like, to think that, like, whether we're here or not, it's going to do its thing. Things are going to grow. And sometimes I get pushback on this idea of how we view invasive plants. The goal is to have high biodiversity in areas.
Yeah.
That the more biodiversity, the healthier things will be. I'm not going to go too into that,
right.
But yeah, generally. So when we look at invasive plants that are brought over here, which are draining nutrients from the environment and outcompeting some of our native plants, we need to think about why are they thriving in these environments, and how can we better use them since they're already here? Because putting herbicide in an area and then killing it and then killing all the other. I don't understand how that could be better than
right. No, facts. That just doesn't make sense.
It. So I think if we look at invasive plants of like just seeing since they're already here, how can we work with them? Maybe that means harvesting them or using them. Like if we looking at foraging that way, like we are a part of the community. Like if people were eating a lot of the invasive plants, would they be as prevalent of an issue? Or if we were creating spaces where there is more diversity, would they be able to take over area a bit more? Conscious, like looking at it that way, like these plants are coming here for a reason. They're doing a purpose. Like a lot of the invasive plants are in, like I said, I was talking to you earlier about like poor soil. Like we're creating spaces for
depleted soils and shit. Yeah,
we're creating spaces for these plants to thrive, and maybe looking at it as like, why are they here?